We're back. It took us a couple days, but oh my gosh, it's a mon. What is that? It looks like a phoenix. Is that a phoenix?
This is the Shadowlands mod. I wanted to win the Shadowlands banner because, there wasn't a spider one.
Now, I don't know what that faction is. Is that from a different time in L5R?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, you rub your salt in my wound some other time, man. We got sweet ass items that we want to get through here
We're talking about
today. So
followers.
I'm on items. Are you seriously on followers?
Yeah, followers is alphabetically first.
I could have sworn you said items.
I may have said items, but then I said followers after that.
Okay, well, let's get through. I will follow you.
Haha. Well, I'm going to start then. And we'll begin at the beginning with Brotherhood Sohei. Um, there was a time in L5R when this would have been a really good card. This is a 2 force follower for 2 golds. You've got some good numbers, and then a battle action that's just -2 force. So it's just straight up like a 4 force card, especially in like a low to the ground attacking military deck, with like potential upside if you're playing guys out of faction. It can't target unaligned guys, which is always my big beef with the templating on these abilities. It has to be a different clan alignment, not that don't share a clan alignment. But I think that card's time has passed. When people play followers, they play big followers with big splashy impact as soon as they hit the table. People are unironically playing trained horsemen, and we're through the looking glass. Like up is down, down is up. I'm drinking tea with a rabbit, and that's where we are. I think this is a pass card nowadays, but I look at it and evaluate it as my snap judgment and think like, man, back in the day, I would have played this card all day.
Right. So I'm going to counterpoint you. You're correct in that over time the value of followers has increased because we've developed a keener understanding that like followers need to bring almost as much to the table as personalities. Uh, they get on the board. Like you look back on follower design, and that's one of the great evolutions of L5R.
Yep.
Light infantry used to be 2 gold, and at some point we're just like, well, that doesn't make any sense. We got to get it to 1 gold. I mean, Bandit Gang used to be one of the best followers in the world, and I don't know if anybody would bother to play it.
Berserker is always my favorite example. Like that card was
Berserkers,
just
yeah.
gasoline back in Imperial.
I think it was it Samurai
No, it was
Edition that
Lotus. I mean, it was Lotus, so like that was unfair to Berserker, but not one person even like tried to play that card.
Someone could tell us in the comments. I think it pushed through into Samurai as well, which wasn't a format you played a lot of.
No.
Because I remember it in Lotus. Obviously, Lotus, it was going to be tough to get into the next. But yeah, if you put it in Samurai, it was out. It wasn't enough. It was just you could have just had it as a 4 force for 4 gold cost follower or Hachiro's Legion type, and very few people would have played that. Right? It's just not. 2 for 2 is still very efficient, and it still has the battle ability. We play colonial concepts, so I think this can find itself into a couple of decks, and one of the sort of hidden values, it's got the monk keyword, so it'll let you do a little bit of monk splashiness.
Sure,
Because
cast a banish here and there sort of thing.
yeah, cast a banish here and there is exactly what I'm thinking with it. So I think this is better than just generic 2 for 2 follower. But we are at a point now where there are so many of these cheap kind of followers that you need to have a really ability like a Colonial Conscript, which is a 2 for 2 follower that sometimes is free and can give out -3 force.
Yep.
And that doesn't even get. I mean, that sees play in good competitive. Everybody a lot of play, and this isn't quite that good. But I think going forward into Onyx, it's in that wheelhouse. So I think you'll see this in a couple of sort of like spider decks. And you want to have attachments. They provide a certain amount of protection. They let you sort of break the province strength curve. If this was if you had a personality that was 2 force for 2 gold and gave out -2 force, you'd say that's a perfectly good personality, right?
I'm not sure I would. Like if it was a scout personality in Mantis, I would say that.
Follow me here. We play a 2 force for 2 gold cost monk in our spider decks all the time.
Okay, but that's not fair at all because we only play her for one very narrow reason. Also, as far as the monk keyword goes, that's a point well taken, but Dragon Elite Inkyo has that market cornered. If you want to cast Banish with a follower, that's what you're playing. So
Fair
I don't
enough.
know. This is a
But
card out of time.
it's not great, but it's also just like a common card, and it's
Yeah, for
obviously
sure.
designed
Okay, yeah, that's
to,
fair.
like,
And it's
you know,
clearly a
it.
draft card. So I don't
Yep.
know, like we shouldn't overanalyze.
I think it's a potential mover and a shaker.
All right. Moving on. We got
But
Courageous Unloaded Ashigaru. Let's see if we can get that to
I
load
have
here.
Courageous Ashigaru here,
Yeah.
and so one of the things you end up with followers is that they're competing for decks. They're competing against all other followers and all other items and all other fate card spaces. And you need to, and this is one of the ones that probably will become a very standard default card just
Mm-hmm.
because it has that Ashigaru sauce. It
Yep.
comes into play and you get that extra card. And so it's like, I need to play a follower, 2 force, 3 gold, perfectly reasonable. Not good, but not great. But like, generally
Cycles
speaking, I
itself.
would rather have this versus like just a 3 force, like versus you compare it to something like a medium infantry, right? And you're just like, no,
Yeah.
no, just give me the cash guy. Like it just replaces itself. So this will be that, and I think that this is the card that competes directly with the monk follower we just looked at, where it's like, which of these two things would I rather have? I think a lot of times I'd rather just take the courageous Ashigaru and get another fate card because generally a fate card is going to do more for me than a -2/4. So I think the courageous Ashigaru is really good.
Cheap followers that replace themselves always see play. That's just a rule of
Yep.
L5R. And like we've seen in the past ones with lots more upside. There was the Budokan from Samurai and
Wandering Paducah,
Lotus
yep, that was a great
that
card.
like you drew cards, Beagle to Province is destroyed. And the Ashigaru followers even like Ashigaru's Archers, Ashigaru Spearmen, these cards see play like all
Yep.
across, like not in super competitive decks recently, but in past history they've seen play in competitive decks. I think what's kept them out recently is Force, and this one has Force, so there you go.
And
Um,
this one is a conscript for a couple of those cards that matter. I can't think
I
of
can't think of
any.
them because they don't matter. This is a card that's
Yeah.
easy to
Is
underevaluate, I guess.
there are there any cards that reference? I mean, there certainly are cards that reference Ashigaru. There's even another like Ashigaru follower that does something with Ashigaru, but you're not gonna play it for like
No, it's
Ashigaru
not.
themed stuff isn't where this is at. This is just the like I need some number of attachments in my deck, and instead of trying to decide, do I want one that makes a ranged attack, or do I want one that makes a pure effect, or I don't want that vicious waveman or something. This is very much in the vicious waveman way. Like every time I play it, just does the thing I want it to do, which is great.
So the way to look at this card is that people pay 8 gold for Legion of the Khan, which is a 3 force
Yep.
follower. Now, granted, with a range 3 no bow, but as far as like force goes, this guy is like a 3 gold sort of destined 2 force guy. So like if you're just in the market for a guy and keep moving through your deck, like find some more offensive gas and a protection, like here you go.
Should we talk a little bit about how it doesn't have the Destin trait, and why aren't we just giving these cards the Destin trait? I mean, obviously this is mechanically different,
Because
and
it would
it
combo off. Like if all the Ashigaru like Spearman Archers and this courageous one were retemplated to Destin, then I could do some like draw your whole deck stuff with the holding with like the Lonely Dojo.
sure it would get a little too. You could just spam too many out
Yeah, and then
because
just have like all the gas.
you don't want to make a Destin card that only costs 3 gold. I mean, how ridiculous would it
That
be
would be
to
yeah.
have?
Well, I mean, if it was 1 gold, I mean that would just be
But
broken.
yeah, that'd be insane. Okay, I mean that's a point well taken, but it feels like L5R should have gotten. Maybe they should have just come up with a different keyword. Maybe
Yeah, I
just
mean
do
that I
like.
agree with. Like, there's no reason why they couldn't have just keyworded like conscript or something. And I don't know, but it's
Okay,
actually not the same trigger, right? Doesn't don't the other Ashigarus trigger at the beginning of your next turn?
no, I'm pretty sure all the Ashigaru are currently end steps, though
Okay,
don't quote me on
quote me
it.
on
But
that.
I feel like they're all that when the turn ends.
Well, let's keep trucking. Oh man, so I had this deck. It was a deck that was like 40 followers, and it tried to dream this dream of just always
Yeah,
being as obnoxious as humanly possible.
and
But I
it could
kept
never get
having this
this one
problem.
card. Yeah.
I kept having these problems with like you could get me with chi, or you could get me with like a duel. If only they would print a card just for me.
I like to think that Brian Reese, he answers our prayers sometimes, and then he answers our prayers and then sells the game off
That's right.
because
He's
that's
like,
like a
what
super
if God?
troll
What if
troll
God
level
reamps me?
9,000. And that card play trying to hot you, man, which does pretty good with this. So defensive archers, I kind of hate this card because I feel like we're at a point now where spending 5 gold to get a follower that bows for a range 3 is actually asking a little too much. You really like the anti-duel effect.
I mean, it's the only reason you play this card. Like, there are range threes coming out of the
It's a
wazoo.
metagame thing. If there's a metagame reason for it, okay. But can't dual decks just find some followers to play that will totally screw this up?
Yeah, they can just throw a Ken Shinjin down on their guy and then make all their duels
Or
irrefusable and they'll be fine.
or a shield wall, maybe? It costs 0 gold.
That's like the ultimate rub-ins against this card, right? Because it like blows up
Yeah.
both of the tricks.
Shield wall is in fact the ultimate Robin, which, maybe that's like a flavor thing. I feel like the flavor text should have referenced, like, no, not the shield wall.
Wood, my only weakness.
I think this is a fine card that no one's ever actually going to play.
Oh, of course, yeah. No one's playing follower heavy decks. They're not part of the meta game. But this is what those are there. I mean, this is what it's there for. It's the only reason
And
to root for it.
even if you were trying to really beat dual decks, I just feel like you would probably develop a better overall game plan, not just like random stupid meta. Though I guess if you put 3 of these in and 3 spirited by dispute or whatever that one is that like negates the loss, like
oh yeah, Spirited Dispute.
yeah,
Plus
like 3
picks up your
spirit,
defensive archers if they manage to blow it up.
right? Like that's the 6 card combo to be like, get out of here, you stupid dual decks. I don't want to deal with you today.
There you go.
And having cards like that in the card pool is fine. Like,
No, I agree. I think it's a perfectly fine card. Let's talk about Emerald Guard. It is we could call this a 6 gold follower, because you're always going to be attaching it to a 3 PH guy. But even at 6, like 6 gold for 4 force and a don't move ability.
So, first off, should we take a moment to discuss how much the honor keyword is relevant to this follower? Because I have a feeling it's not at all.
Oh yeah, like you're ever gonna discard your 9 gold 4 force follower to get a single point force.
I feel like now with honor, like they should just double up on honor and courage and just be like, here, if you can't play your incredibly high costed attachment, you can always throw it away randomly.
Here's some stuff you could do with it. Yeah.
That's really why it has 4 focus value, right? It's just like they're like baking it into the sauce. Like, well, get a karmic as well. Just give it all the keywords, and maybe I'll get behind you a little bit. So
It's another one of these.
Cavalry, except us sometimes, because that's sort of how I am, right? But like in Unicorn, you can play heavy cavalry. It's 4 force for 6 gold. Nobody plays it.
Hachiro's Legion is the one. That's like
another one that nobody. So is the anti-movement effect good enough?
No.
My thought is almost certainly. Now, if you gave this card cavalry, I would say there's probably some sort of Battle Maiden setup that works for you, where you can go make big cavalry unit, like a big cavalry Battle Maiden and take a province and do anything. But I don't feel like this card is bringing enough to the flavor, because it's easy enough to negate movement if that's what you're worried about. It's not that hard, and and a reactive interrupt isn't enough to want me to play this occasionally force efficient follower. It's over-designed. Like, just make the follower 6 gold, get rid of the honor X stuff, and maybe you'll get it in some low-cost military decks.
Mm-hmm.
But where's the place for it?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, Send Home punishes Go Second factions a lot harder than Go First factions.
Correct.
Because they're attacking second into honor, and honor is most likely to play Send Home. And then they give it this trait that makes it work for Go First military. So it's really this is a bit of a head scratcher in that regard.
So Glion maybe, but I don't think I could. Okay, or Crane military, there might be an avenue. They've got like some 3 PH guys, or it's like 4 force or 3 force, right? They have everything. You'll put this on your Crane Conqueror guy when you're like, after you get done beating your friends with your 3 other awesome Crane decks, you'll be like, now I'll beat you with Crane military.
But like, why is this card better than Camel Mounts?
It's 1 more force and 1 more focus value.
Are those compelling reasons to be better, or are those just differences?
Those are compelling reasons to be, because at table 27, when you're playing your Crane military dueling deck with Totonobu Sensei, you want to have high focus value cards, and you want your singular high chi units to be able to play reprisals.
All right, you got me. Let's talk about.
It's a tier 2 card, man. But
Okay, I
I'm
got you. I
telling you,
got you.
you'll see it. You'll see it a lot more at table 52 than I will at table 27.
Let's talk about legendary War Cat. Um,
I need to take a moment. Can someone tell me how much the keyword cat matters? Because I have this scary feeling that it does, but I refuse to like look into my like I refuse to like do a Oracle keyword for cat. Like
I'm
I'm not
not.
gonna
That's
do
your
it.
homework,
At
man. I'm
no,
not looking into it.
at no point am I gonna do it. I do know that the one Zelcho lion follower gets only young battle cats because I know it can't get razor fangs. I checked that out, man. I'm not too proud to say I've never looked at that. I've looked at that.
Despite the silliness of the cat keyword as something in L5R, I really like this card. I really like. This is like we were talking about how I like that they push where they're pushing the resilient trait into the guys getting
Sure.
their attachments. I like what this does with courage. It's taking what like, this thing that already exists and saying like what neat things can we do with it. Now I wish that like this ability was on a follower I'd ever want to play like at any point in my life. But from a design standpoint, I think this is a really cool card where you can like have another little young battle cat, pump it up with your force, and then you just get a straight interrupt. Like my thing is better, and like oh surprise, here's another follower, and then it also gets a +1 force bonus for opposing the guy you just bowed with the fear. So it's a
Yeah, so this is a really fun idea of a card that sort of doesn't really work for me. The key the interaction you talked about is like we're going to use the fear effects from other cats to bow stuff to make this guy bigger. All cool, and it's another different. I got my biggest complaint is that like after you discard the follow from your hand from a courage interrupt, like no other way. Like why can't it just be after this card enters the discard pile, I attach it? Is that really too good? Like why can't I just have that thing?
yeah, I don't know. Is there any like wombo combo with that? I don't think so.
I mean,
Like,
it
is
would
it
let you
because they're trying to be
tactician
cute? It's
it.
always the reason. It's like let's be cute. Let's be cute.
It would let you tactician it. It would let you discard it to accepting the choice. It would let you do a lot of other stuff,
Yeah.
and maybe that would push it to being a little bit too good of a card. But I don't think so because at the end of the day, and this is a 3 force follower that you're spending 5 gold has to really be bringing a lot to the table. And
Yeah.
I mean, this just isn't going to be that. Also, legendary and it's non-unique. That sort of upsets me for sort of personal reasons. I feel like if something's legendary, it should be
I feel
unique.
like the legendary war cat should get the young battle cats. Like, why does the young battle cats get the legendary war cat?
To get all the young battle, it should get all cats. All cats should follow the legendary war. It should be like comes into play, get all your cats, put them into your hand.
Okay. Leg-
It roars and summons the cats.
let's talk about Master
I'm gonna submit.
Infiltrator.
I'm gonna submit some really sweet L5R card designs now. If I
Yeah,
can
you're
find
just
that
gonna
template.
go. We can finally post them on public. Like,
That's it.
all right, Ninja Scout. Okay, so let's start by saying first, this is zero
So,
gold for one force.
so did
So
you catch how I sort of cleverly laid? I did a little bit of foreshadowing, I believe we call it in the video podcasting business here,
is there
where
a
I sort
video
of
podcasting business? Should I be collecting revenues for this somehow? I mean, all I do is
you have
spend
to
money
get
on this junk.
a an account on. There's a website for this. Does Kickstarter do stuff like this?
We can get Patreons. Yeah, we can be like,
There you
here,
go.
give us money to make videos
Speaking,
about
I really feel
L5R.
like we should do the Star Citizen. You know Star Citizen? I mean, I know Star Citizen, so I assume you do. The video game that like raised like $90 million on Kickstarter and has never produced a game. I feel like that's the future for us.
Is that the
The,
number 5, the legendary number whatever game? The like Mega Man
I
clone?
no, it's like X-wing Commander or something.
Okay. Let's talk about Master Infiltrator. So first things to
I
note,
referenced Bandit Gang and
stop.
said that card probably wouldn't be playable, right?
Okay, well here we are. It's 0 force for 1 gold. Hey, it's a blitz deck. Rock, Paging Ryan Romans. This card is not good.
It's actually better than Bandit Gang. And by strictly better, I mean strictly different. Uh, one less force, you never have to pay gold, it doesn't die, and it looks at face down cards,
That doesn't
which
matter.
is
Like
for whatever. Is there a ninja follower thing? I mean, it's a free scout, so like I can bow it to
it's
fearful
not free
volley.
though. Like it costs a deck slot. And like you look at a
Yep.
card like no one like this is just this is an upgraded reprint of Marsh Spirits. Did you ever play Marsh Spirits, Paul?
Not ever play Marsh Spirits.
Okay, well there
It's
you
fun
go.
because Marsh Spirits is probably to me some variation of Lesser Oni, right? Lesser
Right.
Oni, yeah.
But
And
Lesser Oni
nobody.
costs two. Like I played Marsh Spirits when I was 8, and like I thought it was so gas because it was free. But you know what? It wasn't gas.
Yeah.
It was I should have been playing a Skeletal Troops instead. So
Right. So free one force, but there's nothing else to do. There is. I don't
like
know. I mean, there are cards that trigger off scouts and ninjas, and this is a scout and a ninja. I feel like these keywords on followers can come. I mean, I can bow this to Fearful Volley to make a range for the attack. Does that really have nothing for me?
maybe like I picture this card going into a Shugenja Blitz deck that goes Guy on 1 and then buys a bunch of spells to generate force, and you play like a Master Infiltrator, and like the utility comes in from like you can Fearful Volley
Right,
for
it
range
denies
3.
him.
Or
Well,
you
and
can
so,
it gives you scouting amidst the snow as an engage for like when you're opposed, you can
yep.
play and get a
Dig
thing.
out, dig out the terrain to bump your followers. So I mean, it's clearly for a blitz deck, and that's the only place you're ever going to play it.
Yeah.
Is where you can put the follower down, have ways to interact with it to generate force, and where the open has value because you can look at it and say, okay, I don't want to take that
Right,
province or
that's
that's
a
a guy I want to
holding. Go
beat.
look at that one. Like I don't put a ton of stock in this open because it's like you're gonna look and it's a guy or it's not a guy. Like if you see a holding, I guess it helps you a little bit.
Yeah, it helps you just a little bit figure. So like that's the place for this card, and it's the only place for this card. And we don't think those blitz decks are going to be any good, but if they are, this card will feature in it, and so I guess that's
So
fine.
like keep it in the back of your head if you're building blitz. Let's go to Oni Familiar. We were just talking about lesser Oni Servant. I believe familiars are servants, and so like the lesser servant much better than the full servant.
Yep. Hey, it's another one of these 3 force for 3 gold cost followers that we've tried to play in a bunch of decks and have like never actually played, right? Like the list is getting pretty long. The sort of unliving legion-esque group of followers. This one now is cavalry,
Yep.
and like we keep trying to play these cards, and almost none of them end up sticking in our decks. Fear 2 that destroys followers, like that feels like maybe I'll give it a try, and then
Ooh.
eventually I'll cut this card. Like that's what's gonna happen, right? That's what always happens with these 3 for 3 followers whose main value is that they're 3 force for 3 gold. They always end up getting cut because they don't do enough, and I don't think a Fear 2 that destroys followers is enough.
I think this card is a missed opportunity to have a like Hellbeast to give the guys attached to cavalry thing on it.
Yeah, ride the familiar.
I mean, if you look in the text, it's a horse. Like you give them the horse, they get cavalry. Like it's a cavalry guy.
Why do I have to look in the text? Doesn't that look like a horse to you with like a third
I
eye
don't
or
know. I
something?
don't know what. Like honestly, I think this art is just a mess. I don't know what I'm looking at.
I my thought was it's a steed with like 12 eyes. Those are all eyes
I thought
on
it
the
kind of looked
midget.
like a undead praying mantis.
Fair enough. Well, I think that's pretty much it does sort of now that you pointed out, but I think that's a hoof, not a
Not like a
mandible
clawy
claw.
thing. And I
Mandible
mean, you're
claw.
right. Like because you look, it says they're skeletal nightmares riding at the front of their battle lines. So like,
So,
I don't know. Like you
but are
said,
those eyes the things on like
if
the stuff on? Yeah.
okay, I'm cutting this off. If I'm reaching for one that's like I've tried really hard to play Unliving Region. I think Unliving Region is a really underrated card, but it's really just not there. Like as much as I want it to be
That's the
there,
one
it's
that
not there.
makes the
That makes a
followers, right?
follower when the first time something dies in battle.
And there's another one. There's another 3 for 3
The
follower.
desiccated, yeah. That like you
No,
can.
there's a
Oh, there's
different
four
one.
for three. There's another like
I'm
zombie
actually
troops.
gonna
Zombie troops is in it. Well, the
well, there's
point
medium
is,
infantry.
the point is that like Unliving
I
Legion is
got it.
much better than this card.
Yeah, so Unliving Legion and Legion of the Ninth Kami is the one.
Oh, yeah,
That's
that's
the
the
one
other
that
one. That makes
after
your
the
fear blow
undead
stuff up.
card does a fear, yeah.
Yeah.
And we tried both of those cards a lot.
And they just don't work. It's just
Yep.
it's not there. It needs like range attacks are good, fear attacks are not good. Like
And
interrupts
you can now
involving
pull a
fear is
whole
not
fate
good.
deck. You can now add though these you can take your Unliving Legion and your Legion of the Ninth and your Oni Familiars and you can put them alongside medium infantry and the 20 Festival Shugenja one, which is like Shugenja, I think it's called Shugenja Helper or something like
Yeah, the
that.
Shugenja 8 or something. And you just
Right.
have
So
like
there's
all
like
the efficient force, but
there's
it just doesn't
that's
get you there.
it's not enough. Like you need to generate a certain amount of actions from the
Yeah.
cards in your decks to have the quantitative and qualitative card advantage game. And so you need cards that sort of do things, and these just don't do enough. I don't think
As
Fury
much
2.
as we joke about 20 festivals and Ivory being like math edition, it's really more of like death by paper cuts edition. Like you need little
Yes.
actions that matter, and fear effects are not those actions.
Yep.
Especially not a fear too. Like, oh, I'm gonna blow up your Ashigaru like token you made off of farmlands. Let's talk about questionable vassal, which is like an actual good card.
We like this card a lot.
I like this card a lot. 2 gold for 2 force. And to lose one, I don't care. But then it's got a no bow range 3. Like no bow range 3s have proven themselves again and again. Like people pay 10 gold to get crab personalities with no bow range 3s. They pay 12 gold to get followers with no bow range 3s. Here's one for 2 gold. You say, well, Josie,
Goes
it's a
goes
gold
on
cost battle
table
action.
guys are easy. There's no like can't combine nonsense. I mean, this is you invest gold, but if I spend 2 gold to kill their 5 gold guy or 6 gold
Right.
guy
It
or
is fine.
8 gold follower, then like that's great. That's a
Plus, I think
positive exchange of resources.
like 2 for 2 unbow schemes with Temple of the Heavenly Crab and on abundant field, abundant
Yep.
farmlands, and the blessing, like got a lot better with the printing of the new like whatever blade dojo that you can buy as an open. So like these gold
Oh
cost
well,
battle
yeah, that's really
actions
true.
are like a
Yep.
lot less onerous now. And so, I
And
mean, I
so
like this guy in the first place. I like this guy in a deck like that. I like that you could attach this guy to your ninja guys. I like that you can. He's like a really easy way to activate your lookout if you're playing like a doopy like precursion deck. There's just a lot to like about this guy.
this guy actually worries me because I think that it's probably like we talked about colonial conscripts and the new monk from this set. As sort of like playable but on the edge. But this guy just seems so good to me. It's hard for me to envision a deck that like I don't want to fit this
Like
into,
Mantis is
especially
gonna
with
play the hell out of this guy. Like, can you put this on a naval
a
guy and go to
simple
town?
3 focus value card too. Like I can play this in all kinds of honor decks with off-turn gold after I lose a province, and I'm not really doing much with my gold. I put it on my guys, and it kills the thing. This card just seems really, really good to me.
You know, the best part of it is
What?
it's seasoned Ronin fodder.
That's true. It's definitely seasoned rodent fodder. I think this is just a really great card. I think I would have liked it at 3 gold as well. The fact that it's
Yep.
2 gold is
It just
pushed.
really pushed. This is
Um,
going to be an all-star from the set. It's going to be a card that pops up a lot. And it's going to be one of the
you're
top 5
playing
best
the
cards of the
Abbot in
set.
a bunch of decks. We like the Abbot. He's just a card. It's like, hey, now you can always do something with your Abbot.
You just always have
It
extra
might
gold after a certain point in the
be
game.
and it's range 3 attacks are already sort of environmental defining actions, right? You have to take into account some number of range 3 attacks, but it's hard to play around range 3 attacks because most personality bases just aren't equipped to sort of go over that, right? Like it's very
Yeah.
difficult. We've talked about how Fear 3 will do something. Range 3s do something. They
Like putting
just
this
do.
guy putting this guy alongside Goblin Chukkas, which is already a like an environment staple in Mantis, like wide
Yeah.
blitz or like wide aggressive, and he
Yeah.
just blows it out of the water, right? Like it's a no
Yep.
bow. The honor loss is less, the range attack is bigger. Like it's just a better card in every way.
Yeah, it's great for a lot of really good. I mean, any sort of spider, any deck that doesn't care about little bips of honor or is low honor and then doesn't have to worry. There's a little bit of fear about Nexus Allies if you're a lion or something. But I mean, if you're Scorpion, if you're Mantis, if you're Crab, if you're Spider, you're just jamming this guy all the
Oh
time.
yeah, I mean Nexus is going to be around in Onyx, so
That's it. It's just
moving forward.
okay, from a card that's really great for low honor factions to a card that I don't really think is really good for anybody, but I've been around before. The Shaitomi Troop. So it's a Battle Maiden follower, which means it's going to have crappy force for gold and cavalry because it has to pay for its cavalry and battle maidenness. So there you go,
There
2
you
force for
go.
gold. You gain a little point of honor and a point of pH, which I would actually really like for different reasons, mainly enlightenment and show me your stance, but it's not a relevant rate. And then after this, unit moves to oppose a defender. So not assign, only move.
Game
You
and
gain
honor.
an honor,
So it's like you
which
cab
is
in.
another Wait, no, so you gain 2 points of honor, assuming you cav in, and then it makes a stupid fear effect that is worthless.
Yeah, it'll be like a
Stupid.
fear 4, so who cares? But it bows to make it. The only commentary I have on this card is that I thought the spelling of troop with an E on the end only applied to like actors. Like a group of actors is a TROUPE. I thought that
That's what I thought as well.
like this should be TROOP. It's a troop as in a group of military units.
Maybe this is a group of actors that
Like
are
these are
just
not
really
actual battle maidens. They just
they're
like
not
strapped
actual
up.
anime.
That's why their
Yeah,
force
they're
is
just
so low, and they're just like they inspire fear because
they're
they
just
dressed up
sneaking.
in such
Yeah.
nice
Look,
clothes.
the one horse. I think all the 2 horses there, the white and the black one, each have like little unicorn things on them, and they're just
It's like
cosplaying.
they're
They're
just
not even.
cosplaying Shitomes, and
Yeah,
that's
so
why they get you get the honor
trope.
because they ply their trade very well. Everybody's very impressed. Like even the enemy
So,
buys into it, but it's at the end of the day they're not real military units.
so let's do a fun math question, right? So 2 honor for 4 gold is bad. We know this because you can gain 2 honor for 0 gold from any number of fate cards. Inexplicable challenges to sanctioned duels to wheels within wheels to all kinds of stuff, right?
Usually,
So
how many
like
times do I have to attack with this card for it to be good?
right, so like what amount of honor does this card have to get us to really feel good? 4 gold for and 3 honor, that's like a personality proclaim, so that's solid.
I think if
So
this
I
card just said after this unit assigns gain honor, it would be fine.
assigns or moves or just assign.
Assigns or moves, sure. Like after this personality like starts a battle at a battle.
I think it should actually be. So the thing that I think it needs is assigns or moves, so I could trigger multiple times in the same battle. Like if it was assigns or moves, I could go assign, gain a point of honor, send myself home with strategic withdrawal, move back in with my box or something, gain another point of honor, and now I can sort of do combo thing. And if you get rid of the opposed defender and it's just after this unit assigns or moves, now we're talking. Now we're talking a really sweet rare
Yeah, at least
where
it's
it's
an
like
interesting
my
card.
guy,
Like have a
and I can,
combo. Like I play
and
accessible
I can get
terrain.
5-6 honor off of it. Yeah, you could do some really neat stuff. And so it's another one of those cards where it's like their fear of going infinite or doing something a bunch of times. I really felt handicaps it. So.
Yeah, I guess I get that L5R
Somewhere,
players hate that stuff, but I don't. And whatever.
but
Let's talk
somewhere
about.
in the sauce, there's a really cool card with like sudden movements and stuff. But that's not what this is. Hey, it's Sons of Gusui experience.
Now, it appears that the Suns have put their bows down. I predict that this will negatively impact their playability.
So I want to talk about a few things. First, I love that they just made it 2 force instead of the 1 force with the stupid bonus for ports. I feel like that's a nice change. Like good for
They
you.
couldn't have made it too forced with the stupid bonus reports. Like, I mean, it's like a little flavory thing.
If you
They can
do
make it
that,
two
just
for
make
three.
it 3 force, right? Give another target opposed, and we're done. Like another mercenary, and you might sell
Mercenaries.
me. Another mercenary, you might get me like I'll give another mercenary 2 for like if it's just target a mercenary, give him
If it's
plus
just a
like I can give
mercenary, it can't even target itself. Like, what a blowout,
can't
dude.
target. It's just so. It's just like a complete like shutdown, and an unneeded one. I mean, just lame, man. You've taken a perfectly solid, fun, playable card and turned it into goofy trash. Like, I mean, I like playing the keyword game as much as anybody else. But are we really doing this? Are we really doing mercenaries as a
We're going
keyword?
all the
Like,
way down the rabbit
have
hole.
we got
His men
every?
reacted no differently than when ordered to pursue human quarry. I disagree. Like they did
That's
something.
right.
They did something different. I don't know what it was, but something happened. And something happened. Sons of Gucci. You used to be cool.
I'm trying to think of other mercenaries. This is really bugging me. Can you think of
Oh,
any
I
other
can think of one.
mercenaries?
Questionable vassal is a mercenary.
Nice hit. The
Bam.
the the ninja we just looked at, that's questionable vassal.
Yes, he is a
Okay.
mercenary.
I will say Sons of Gusui inexperienced is a mercenary.
What
I'm
a
not
punt!
actually
What a what
sure,
a
but
what a that was like a that
I'm
was like an
pretty
onside
good at
punt. Just like, oh yeah, I it's Sons of Gusui inexperience. Like, oh, I guess
um,
I'll put the ball to
what
myself.
about
Like, screw you.
I'm pretty sure Victorious Wavemen are a mercenary
All right,
Ronin.
and we're done. Let's talk about spiritual sentries. It's like
Virgil said
Jesse and Paul list mercenaries for 5 minutes, and all of our viewers leave. Like, thanks, man.
hey, this is my card here because it is aligned to my faction. It is a spirit card,
It is a spirit.
which is a
Actually, all followers are
and
aligned to your faction
no, no,
context.
no, no, all human followers.
Oh,
Dude, I
touche.
normally,
So this card actually
normally,
does not gain the spirit trait from the spirit box.
that's
Like
it.
that's not. That's a bit of
Normally,
bonus.
yeah. So they had to keyword it properly so that I could play it in my
This
faction line
personality of the
spread.
current battlefield.
Okay, so hey, it's got honor.
Move.
Nobody cares.
Straighten this
Move this
personality.
personality to the current ballot if any attacking units are there. Straighten this. Oh, so it's a defensive.
Is this good? I think this effect is terrible.
I'm taking a moment and thinking. So
Like it only moves in on the defense, and I feel like the defender typically has fewer guys and fewer actions. Like because no one except honor decks defend or like want to defend
it's
consistently.
absent. I feel like it needs to be absent plus tireless. The fact that it straightens the personality but not the followers. The follower has to be unbound. I think if you made it absent tireless home battle, and you'd really be hitting the keywords there. There might be a place for it. I guess the main application of this is like some sort of switchy thing where I attack you and then I throw this down defensively so that I'll sort of gain my unit for defense by moving it in. Yeah, it's pretty trash. I mean, it's a card that you're going to play in draft and not anywhere else.
That's I mean yeah I mean there has to be a certain
Force
number of those. Like
good, and
we bust on these cards, but from a
it's
design
not.
standpoint, I
So
like that
my
draft is a
problem
thing.
there is then like, why does it have to be any attacking units? Why can't it just be like, if this is going to be opposed, move in? Would that have been too good for military?
Would it have
Probably too
been?
cheap back
It's
in the
still like a
day.
three force for 2 gold. Like it's
Well,
just
you'd
it's
be
such a
so.
tempo hit.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very so. I mean, it's sort of. I mean, it's an indictment of the imagination of the design team, where they just sort of like take this effect that we've seen and modify it a little bit and put it in a card type in a slightly different way, just because they have to hit. They have to hit their 150 cards for the set, and that's fine. But other games find a better way to make more
I
interesting
have
cards,
nothing.
and
I have no problem with this ability. Like
I
to I
don't
have
have
no problem with
anything.
taking
It's
like move
not.
in and making it defensive only. But like this needs a follow up action really badly.
Yeah, I think if you give it that line, I think if you get to take a follow up action, it's sort of a boring, dull card that's not going to see competitive play. You'll see some play in drafts, and you need some of those. Every time I see something like this, I just feel like it's a slightly wasted opportunity.
Or if there was like
I
a
just
blow it up, like you wanted to like say blow it up to take the follow up as like a as an optional line at the end.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Um,
Just something
yeah.
like it
So
just needs a little bit more to see. Otherwise, like yeah, this will be fine in draft. In fact, it probably like draft all star. They just to yeah.
it's just not hard for us to develop commentary. Hey, and continuing the theme of rare cards that nobody really wants, we get the Mountain Born Experienced Bound Spirit. That's fun to say.
Yeah.
After this personality straight this follower, and then make
I
it.
don't
So
get
we've
it.
got. So we I love that we've talked about arbitrarily large fair effects because we're finally starting to see these points where they're just like making shit up,
So,
right?
yeah.
Like we've had like here's
Fear equal to the
5,
force of the
fear
square
equal
root of, you know.
so fear equal to twice, so it's a fear 6, which is like as big as you're
It
gonna
gets
get. But
everything.
like you can do other stuff. You can like give the follower a force bonus
Oh
and then
yeah.
buy like I make you're
Cooking
a
with
million.
gas. This is
Like you
happening.
really get the
We're doing it. Like
um
it's a combo attack. I give I give a force bonus and then use the ability. It's
I'm gonna like I'm trying to think of like a key. Can I like chasing Osana Woe to increase the force of the follower, and then my monk's bowed, but then I'll bow this,
I'm
and then my
not
guy will.
I'm not talking about it. The I don't know, like this thing is enormous. It's like an enormous like kaiju. Like I'm fighting the giant oni. Like look, they're way above the trees. Like the best we can muster out of this is like a three. It's 3 force, and it's earth battle, like fear effect. I really feel like they're not. There's really afraid of something with these big guys. Like they want to print a big scary guy and make it this big cool thing, and then it ends up like the same power as like a ninja infiltrator.
Yep. Okay, so now let's talk about where we might actually have fun with this card, and it's got to be the trait, right? Uh, so there's the dragon guy that digs this out,
Yeah.
and this is a Shugenja follower, so it can do Shugenja things like cascade. So I
The
can
Kios are
bow
terrible.
my
There's no
guy.
like
I
Kios aren't
can
a thing
bow my
anymore.
just listen. I can bow
Okay.
my guy to vanish, and then bow my follower to vanish, and then I'll wing it straight my guy, and then
Double
my follower,
value. Double value.
and then I can All the bad.
You know what made this card cool is if the trait was both ways. If it said after this follower or this personality straighten both.
That'd be cool. There's a she get this I recall this version. Now that we've seen this, that
Hold
talking
on.
about.
Hold on. You're breaking up. Give it a second.
Okay. In a second, why don't you pull up Tamori Daishu? Because I want to ask you about it.
Okay, you want me to do that?
Yeah, he's the experienced guy.
Yeah. No. Oops. Okay, so where's my mountain born? Here he is. Okay, go. You're back.
So when we talked about dragon personalities, we talked about Tamori Daishu. I'm going to sidebar from him. Don't you love that they make print rare cards that say do this other thing with other rare cards? That's clever marketing. Hey, so you got this cool rare card, and then to make him awesome, all you have to do is go get this other rare card. Like,
Oh, I get
well
it.
done.
See, look. So so I get the mountain born with
Correct.
Tamori Daishu. Okay.
And then
I fear. No, I don't. I don't fear with the follower. See, you screwed up already.
No, you shoot with the guy.
I shoot with the guy, and then I can bow the mountain born to straighten Daishu, and then I straighten the mountain born. Boom, got it. And I
got a melee 3 attack without bowing, and I got to dig the guy out with my head courtesy.
That's right. So for the mere cost, for the low cost of let's look for 16 gold and two rare cards. So like a box of L5R cards, I get one copy of this combo, and I can make a melee 3 attack without but it's just Brian Reese, you master troll. Let's go to the next card. Warcats in training. Hey, it's another cat. Kill me now.
There's a little cat. So
that's right. Look how cute they are.
Do they grow up to be legendary Warcats?
It's unclear. They're still in training. We haven't sussed out their full potential.
They're going to and select like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna end the. They're just gonna I'm putting this card on the screen, and then we're ending. This has been a talk. I recognize that it exists, and that's as far as I'll go.
Nobody but us. I mean, one of the 2 cards we played a little bit because we thought it might be better than it was Kige Tsume Initiates, the one that's like no fear effects in this unit, right?
Yeah.
And it has that trait, only kind of worse.
It was like a goofy. They decided that cats care about having bowed guys. This is just
they have to care people.
Okay.
It gives -2 force, which you can get on a number of cheaper cards that we've already specifically referenced, like the monk at the start. I guess this one has cavalry, but low force cavalry followers are just terrible, right? Like that's a problem with cavalry followers. Like the value of cavalry is that like you can make one big cavalry unit. The idea like there was a time where you could have a 3 force cavalry guy and a 2 force cav follower, and then another guy at the same sort of stripe, and the 2 of them could go take a province. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's not.
What is do they think they're going to be like, I have my 3 force cavalry guy and he has 7 followers? Like, is that, I just don't understand why we keep doing this. Or they keep taxing it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't even know that it's taxing. It's just that, it's funny that province strength inflation happened a long time ago. It happened in like Diamond,
Samurai. No, Samurai. We had some 6 in Lotus. Samurai's when they really started it, and they really jumped into it with like
20
Samurai.
festivals. Yeah, like the
Samurai.
9. Like when did Crab get its first 9
they're
gold?
like, let's start everybody at 7. And
Like when did Crab get its first 9?
I think Samurai Edition, but it might have been Lotus.
I thought it was the one that they got an extra province when they blew it up and could make a duel of force. What was that one?
Dana Hodakage? No, that was a 7. That was a 7-4.
Speaking of busted boxes, okay, but my point is, like, whenever like Crab got its first 9, that's when everything went crazy. But here's an interesting question. So I have a young battle cat, okay, and it goes for training. I assume
Wait. Your definition of interesting, very different than my definition, but let's continue.
So I get a young battle cat. Now, the young battle cat goes for training. The young battle cat is 2 gold for 2 4s, nothing, right? It
Which
it
like
goes
is
for
what
training, and it doesn't
it
get
is.
anything. It gets like an
It
extra
doesn't.
gold and like a bad ability. Like, why send it to training? Like, don't go to college. It's a bad investment, battle cat. Like, just go learn a trade. Go be a plumbing battle cat, because going to war cat school is not paying off. You're gonna end up with all this
You know
student
what it
loan
gets?
debt.
It gets the ability. It loses all of its discipline too, because now the one big cat from 20 festivals
Right,
doesn't
can't
can't
get
even
it.
pull up. It
Now
can't
they
even
did
like
miss.
look.
I feel like they missed an
Young.
opportunity. This could have been experienced young battle cat. Don't you feel like they could have like told a
Yeah.
little story here?
Oh, but because these are legend, these cats are going to grow up to be legends. Young battle cats, because they don't go to training, don't become legendary,
Okay, but I'm saying
right?
this card could have been experienced young battle cat, so that
Yeah,
like
they
the
could
one
have
guy
done
could
some
get
fun
him,
with,
and then it'd
but
be like a cute like, look, the cat's growing up, and then the next set they could get like experience too, and it's like venerated battle cat, and it's old and like nursing the
yeah.
young battle cats now, and it poops out tokens or something.
And if you're going to do this cat stuff, you pretty much have to do some sort of fun story thing in it, because
Right.
otherwise there's
Yeah, I mean, if
nothing
you're
there.
if you're nakedly pandering to a very small
Mechanically,
section of the fan base, like,
which
just
is what,
do it,
yeah, yep.
because like I'm not the guy playing the cats.
I mean, I played that interaction for a while because it's sort of like get a,
Yeah, it's
I
like an
put in a,
enslaved. It's like a bad enslaved djinn. Like, followers that
yeah,
draw cards are good. We just talked about how we'll all play Ashigaru conscripts. It's just that like the theme, like that one thing is like, okay, there's a cat, it gets another cat, and we're done. Like, I'm
yep.
complaining about like the train that keeps on rolling.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like how we kept sake tokens 5 cards past when we needed them. Like
Right, like this is
one
like a
guy
cute
from
one-off. Like,
yeah, that's
look, it's
fine,
Lee
but like
Mushter's card, do, and like, no, let's like
Yeah.
keep going forever. All right, this has been enough talk. I'm done talking about Battle Cats, man. Like, the
Yeah.
amount of time spent that I predicted in my youth that I would spend talking about Battle Cats has been surpassed. Therefore, we are done with this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment. If you did not enjoy it, leave a comment. Yeah, see you next time.